of Mayor and Council for the year 2023. It's definitely been a long year. Okay, so I'd like to move to call to order. Chesek?
Here.
Thank you. Sophus?
I'm here.
Woodall?
I'm here.
Thank you, Valerie. Danielle?
Here.
All right, and I'm here. We have the whole entire quorum. All right, Vice Mayor, can you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes.
Luke, you're muted. Oh, thank you.
Sorry. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Luke. We're moving on to item number 2, review of the agenda, 5 minutes. The Mayor and Council review the agenda for the meeting, adding or deleting topics of interest or discussion. As is customary, our Vice Mayor will read the agenda. So, Luke, can you go ahead and read the agenda?
Yep. 1, call to order, pledge of allegiance. 2, review of agenda. Mayor and Council will review the agenda, adding or deleting topics of interest or discussion. 3, public comment. Please see page 2 of the agenda where rules for public comment are listed. If you wish to speak, please advise during the virtual meeting. Under old business 4, we have introduction and first reading of ordinance number 08/2023, amending chapter 13, traffic of the Mount Rainier Code to alter certain speed limits on city roads for 15 minutes. We'll introduce and have the first reading of ordinance number 08/2023. 5, adjournment.
Thank you, Luke. And just to clarify, this is a special legislative meeting of the Mayor and Council. So that's what we're doing, and it's going to be followed by our traditional work session. Okay. Seeing there's a one item emergency meeting or special meeting agenda. Council, I'm going to move forward to item number 3, public comment. And basically, if a member of comment has any comment to make when it comes to items that are not a part of this agenda, let us know. You have 3 minutes, and we ask that you follow the rules of the court. And can you put it down to the rules of the court, Melissa, please? Thank you so much. Say your name and last name, street number, and block number for Hampo 4300 block of 34th Street. You have 3 minutes per speaker unless otherwise agreed on by Mayor and Council, and our agreement is 3 minutes. If you're here to speak on behalf of a group, the group will cede their time, and you have to be a recognized member of that group in order to be able to do that. We do ask that as a courtesy to residents of business, council requests the speaker use a specific address or does not use a specific address to individual names when describing a situation or making a complaint. Noting that the block is prepared of a specific address, compliance, food safety, or any employee issues, first need to be brought to the attention of the appropriate departments or one of your council members. But if it's departments, please reach out to our city manager. He runs the day-to-day of the city. Same rules apply to council. Please make sure that we adhere to rules of the court. Failure to do so will be asked to leave the meeting immediately. All right. Thank you guys so much. Do we have any public comments? If you're in the chat, put name, last name, block and street number, and let me know if you need to be called upon. Okay. I see nothing on the chat. Jared, is there anything on Facebook? Thank you so much. This ends the public comment for this meeting. Moving on to old business, item number 4. Introduction and first reading of ordinance number 08/2023, amending chapter 13, traffic of the Mount Rainier Code to alternate certain speed limits on city roads, specifically city roads, okay? The Mayor and Council introduced the first reading of ordinance number 08/2023, and this ordinance will be voted on in our meeting in January, okay? All right, so in order to preserve just a little of my voice, Luke, can you go ahead and Jared, can you go ahead and give us the highlights of this so that we could go through it?
Yeah, and this is the ordinance. It's amending chapter 13, traffic of the Mount Rainier Code to alter certain speed limits on city roads. So if you remember, we did discuss this in previous meetings, and we did introduce the ordinance. This is we needed to make a minor technical correction with the language that doesn't change the intent or the framework of the ordinance. So we are just laying it out again. So I am.
Sir, you're cutting off a bit. I cannot understand
Okay.
you. So I don't know if it's me or you.
Sorry, I'll talk louder. I'm gonna plug in my headset again because I have that problem on this laptop. I'm sorry. Okay, can folks hear me pretty clearly? Can you hear me clearly, Selena?
Okay, Jared, you want to give it a try?
Yeah, can you guys hear me now?
Loud and clear. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. So I'm sorry about that. Yeah, this laptop, the inbuilt-in microphone sometimes has issues. So okay, so this is again just a reminder. This is a ordinance. We've talked about it, discussed this, and would lower the speed limit on city-owned streets. So that's every street within the city. It's currently 25, would go to 20. The exceptions are the Rhode Island Avenue, Route 1, which is under the purview of the State Highway Administration. We can't lower it directly ourselves. And then two roads that folks might think are in the city, Eastern Avenue, which is actually entirely in DC, and Queens Chapel Road is actually just outside the boundaries of the city. The speed limits on those, unfortunately, remains the same. But we continue to work with Maryland State Highway Administration and DC Department of Transportation to address safety on those streets. So I'll go ahead and read this ordinance. So here we go. City of Mount Rainier Ordinance number 8-2023, amending Chapter 13, Traffic of the Mount Rainier Code to alter certain speed limits on city roads. Whereas Maryland Transportation Code annotated Section 25-102, Section A, Section 10 allows a local authority, such as the City of Mount Rainier, in the reasonable exercise of its police power, to alter speed limits for highways under its jurisdiction in accordance with Title 21, Section 21-803. And whereas, based on the investigation of traffic conditions in the City Council has determined that conditions dangerous to vehicles and pedestrians exist on many streets where the current speed limit is 25 miles an hour, due in part to the reduction of the speed limits of the District of Columbia on roads that pass into the city, in part to increasing traffic as area development intensifies, and in part to other sociological and other factors. And whereas, based on the investigation, the City Council has determined that a reasonable and safe maximum speed on these roads is 20 miles an hour, whereas the roads in question are located in urban district, i.e., areas that includes a street and are built up with structures that are devoted to business, industry, or dwelling houses that are situated at intervals of less than 100 feet for a distance of at least 1/4 mile. And whereas the City Council has adopted Resolution 1/2023, creating the Safe Streets Task Force and directing the creation of Vision Zero Safe Streets Plan, committing the city to make efforts to improve conditions on the road within its jurisdiction in order to reduce accidents, injuries, and fatalities to persons using the roads. And whereas City Council adopted Ordinance number 7-2023, lowering the speed limits on certain roads within the city, but that ordinance contained an error relating to the town's post-adoption procedures, and the City Council, therefore, by this ordinance, intends to repeal and reenact the provisions in question. Section 1. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the Council of the City of Mount Rainier, Maryland, that Chapter 13 of the Mount Rainier Code be and hereby is amended to add Section 13-114 speed limits to read as follows. Section 13-114, the maximum speed limit on all city roads, having a posted limit of 25 miles an hour on January 31st, 2024, shall be 20 miles per hour beginning on February 1st, 2024. Appropriate signs shall be posted giving notice of the 20 mile per hour speed limit. Section 2, this ordinance shall supersede Ordinance number 7-2023, which is hereby repealed in its entirety. This ordinance is adopted by the Council of the City of Mount Rainier, this day in 2024 shall take effect on the day in 2024, provided that a fair summary has been read at the meeting at which is introduced and at the meeting for which has been acted on, and that a copy shall be posted at City Hall immediately after introduction until it is acted on for at least 2 weeks after it becomes effective, and that a fair summary is published at least once in a newspaper having general circulation, city inclusive of the city's newsletter, mailed and otherwise delivered to every city household. That is it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So that was the first reading of Ordinance 08-2023. It's slightly different of 07-2023, but not too much. So which means that you guys already heard what we're doing. We saw the studies and everything else. So saying that, I'm gonna open it up for questions of council. If you're good, and if not, I'll move it up to vote. Please let me know if you're good. I'll put the thumbs up and then we'll move on because we have a full work session agenda. I think Melissa said 3 hours of work session. So I see Luke, we're good. Danielle, we're good. Valerie, okay. So I have a motion on the floor to adopt ordinance number 08-2023. Can I have a second?
I second.
Okay, it's probably moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any objections, abstentions? Hearing none, ordinance 08-2023 has officially been read, okay? And we move on, how do you call it, to moving out to legislation for vote, okay? I just want to make sure we had a clear consensus. Good? All right, thank you, Millie. Make a note, the unanimous consensus on it, okay? To move it to a legislation meeting for vote. Good? Melly, yes. I see shaking of your head. Thank you, Melly. I know, poor Melly, they had a long day. We've had a long day. All right, perfect. Moving on to item number 5, adjournment. Can I have a motion on phone to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay. Can I have
Second.
okay, it's been probably moved and second. Any discussion? Objections, abstentions? Hearing none, the special one item legislative meeting has come to an end. Thank you guys for making yourself accessible for this very, very tiny short meeting. World record, 13 minutes. All right, we're moving on to the work. I know, don't look too much happy. Keep it quiet, keep it short in the work session. Moving on to the next meeting. Do you guys need to have a break right now to stretch, or we're good to move on? Thumbs up, down? Good? All right, so let me move on right away, because I'll tell you this, the staff is not looking forward to Thursday, 5 a.m. call for the baskets. They're happy looking to help the community, but it's a long day for them as well. All right, so this is the agenda work session, Mayor and City Council, City of Rainier, Maryland, virtual work session for Tuesday, December 19, 2023. And this is for reals, our last work session for December for 2023. So I'm gonna call to order again. Luke?
Here.
Valerie?
I'm here.
Danielle?
Here.
Jared?
Here.
And myself. Make note that there's complete, all 5 of us are here, all right? Review of the agenda. The Mayor and Council review the agenda for the meeting, adding or deleting posts of interest and discussion. Again, this is a work session. There's no voting taking place in this meeting. Just a reminder for ourselves and the community. It's just items we wish to discuss. So Luke, go ahead and read the agenda for us, please.
Sure. 1, call to order. 2, review of agenda. 3, update and discussion on Safe Streets for All grant. Councilmember Stoltzfus will provide updates on the grant, broader transportation relating to WMATA and other efforts the city and the state are taking to address street safety. 4, presentation and discussion of the FY24 State Revitalization Program grant. Director of Economic Development, Mr. Ron Hopkins, will make a presentation to us on the $75,000 FY24 State Revitalization Program grant awarded to the city for the 34th Street Facade Improvement Program. 5, update and discussion on Prince George's County Better Bag Bill. Director of Code Compliance, Ms. Alma Forfino, will give an update on the County Council Better Bag Bill. 6, discussion and update on ARPA status and proposal to use funds for municipal boundary expansion research and options. Councilmember Stoltzfus and Woodall will discuss using up to $50,000 in ARPA funds to research options and develop a plan for municipal boundary expansion. 7, discussion on proposal to resume in-person council meetings. Councilmember Carter will propose that the city council resume in-person council meetings starting in January 2024. 8, representation and discussion for the creation of an African American History Committee. Councilmember Daniel Carter will reintroduce her proposal to create an African American History Committee for the city of Mount Rainier. 9, presentation and discussion on compost in the city using the Prince George's County facility. Councilmember Stoltzfus will give a presentation on collecting residents' compost and using the Prince George's County facility for composting. 10, presentation of minutes. The city clerk will present the following minutes: September 15, 2020, September 9, 29, 2020, October 6th and 20th, 2020, November 10th and 17th, 2024, 2020, December 1st, 8th, and 15th, 2020, October 17th, 2023, November 7th, 2023, and November 21st, 2023.
Adjournment.
And 11 is adjournment. Sorry.
I was like, Luke, can you see the last item? I know you want to stay here longer, Luke, but it has to come to an end. All right. Thank you guys so much. Is there anything you guys need to delete out of this agenda? All right. We're going to move forward. We're going to move forward with the first item. All right. Update and discussion on Safe Streets for All grant. And I realized, okay, let me read the whole thing. Councilmember Stoltzfus will provide an update on the Safe Streets for All grants awarded to Mount Rainier. Broader transportation related to Ramada and other efforts the city and state are taking to address street safety. So it's a catch for all, Jared. So I would like to say one thing because I realized we didn't add something that was very important to this item. Is all over the news, all over our social medias, all over the newsletters. The city of Mount Rainier got awarded $9.7 million for the infrastructure grant. Thank you to everybody that worked so hard, from the task force and community members to council to staff. Everybody worked ridiculously hard. Jared, thank you for putting your expertise on the line and also helping heavily, when it came to this project. We definitely appreciate you and all the work that's done, as well as both PTOs as well, who have been working alongside with us. We have the ability to thank Congressman Ivy as well. In a meeting on Saturday, Valerie and me were both there. So we personally give a thank you. So he's hearing, but definitely was a big team effort, and also thanked his staff for being so supportive. So saying all that wonderful things, we wanted to make sure we put in the agenda to make sure we meet expectations, what it is and what it isn't. There is a plan and application that was submitted that was very much detailed on what we could do and cannot do. And Jared, I thank you so much for putting this together to make sure it got a little bit more clarity, okay? So the floor is yours, Jared, with a beautiful presentation. You need share screen or you're good?
Yeah, Melissa, can I have the screen? Yep. Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Melly.
If you can let me, yes, perfect. Okay, so just a really quick update on SS4A, and then I'm going to go through a couple other really important transportation updates that relate to this community. So, biggest thing here, we did it, guys. Like this is just fantastic news. We $9.7 million to fund all the Safe Streets projects that we laid out in the Vision Zero plan. It's the largest grant in the history of Mount Rainier, the largest grant in the state of Maryland this year, only one of 48 implementation grants nationwide. I mean, we're among gigantic cities, and little Mount Rainier, knocked it out of the park. We got an amazing amount of resources, more than we've ever had. And again, I don't want to rehash what Selena just said, but thank you to Mayor Benitez for political push on this, for all city council members. We're all supportive of this, our Vision Zero task force and other dedicated community volunteers. So I just, want to say that again. It's going to be a really great thing for protecting our community and making our streets safer, and getting there. As folks know, we have a relatively limited tax base, relatively limited budget. Most of that is operating cost. Our capital resources are very limited unless we win grants, and this is the resources that we need. So real quick, just kind of wanted to kind of frame what this looks like. And folks may remember I once worked at USDOT, also been on the other side. They are grants that come with a lot of terms and conditions, and obligations that come along with that, even more so than federal government, state government grants that we typically get. So I just wanted to make sure to kind of frame this as being important so folks are aware. The period of performance for this grant is over 5 years. So there's a 5-year period by which when the grant starts that we are able to implement projects from the grant over a certain time period and pull and draw down money. There is a local match requirement. There is a contribution that of 20% that has to come from the city. And one of the reasons we spread this period of performance over 5 years is because we are able to use the city's existing capital budget for streets and sidewalks over this as the match over this time period. So it actually works. The maximum time allowed for the grant matches up actually well with the grant contribution that we needed to make. So if we're able to pull in other funds like state funds, those can also serve as match. So we should, continue looking for other resources like at state or county if there is to help, kind of meet that match requirement if we need to. So I just want to make folks aware that, that still is a possibility. It doesn't need to be all our city funds. Our program funds, and I want to be, we had built some project implementation support, but I just want to be clear. There's a lot of projects and a lot of things that are public works projects that are going to be part of this grant. We need to really focus our city resources on implementation over the next 5 years. There's going to be a lot of things, community projects, community, design of projects that we've only kind of talked about in designs, kind of top level designs, but we're going to need to be engaging a lot on as we do the detailed designs and engineering and then construction to make sure they happen. And there's an obligation, there's always always a grant compliance obligation with any public funds. That's especially true for federal funds. So I just, again, want to, focus everyone's attention on that. Obviously staff knows this, but council as well, that we just need to be aware of the compliance responsibilities and, the eye that we will have, about the largest grant in the state of Maryland. A lot of visibility from the federal government and Department of Transportation. That's great, but we have an obligation to make sure that we deliver as well. So just want to put that out there. A couple other quick updates. We talked about the speed limits. I just want to remind everyone that we will be reloading the speed limit 25 to 20. We will start installing new signage starting in January, prepare for the reduced speed limit. And again, this adjustment only applies to city roads. So another update, folks may have seen that DC actually added 24-hour bus service. So folks in our community have taken the bus. Many folks in the community take the bus a lot. DC, where this is not actually something Maryland did or the city of Mount Rainier did, but it actually benefits us. Decision made by the District of Columbia Council and taxpayers and so forth. So I just wanted to make sure folks were aware of this. Starting December 17th, which was actually 2 days ago, last weekend. 24-hour bus service started running across the District of Columbia. That's 14 routes, 24 hours a day, at least 20-minute frequencies. DC actually, one of those routes on its 24-hour window was actually the B2. So we actually are lucky enough to have DC City Council and DC taxpayers actually cover 24-hour bus service into our community. So I just want to make sure folks are aware that exists. For folks coming to our community or having to go, that are doing, late shift jobs at night, early morning shifts. There is going to be 24-hour service coming in our community into the district. So just the visibility there. Two things I wanted to, with that kind of neat news, both of large federal grants and 24-hour bus service. I want to just make sure folks are aware of some of the stuff happening at the state level and then also the federal level as well. So folks may see in the news, Governor Moore's Department of Transportation put out a $20 billion, their 6-year plan. And it's been calling for 8% cuts across Maryland DOT's budget. These cuts are a result of reduced state revenue, which I think folks have heard about. Gas tax, folks are people are driving less than they before. The shift to more fuel efficient vehicles or a shift away from shift to EVs is kind of starting to limit some of the tax revenue coming in. And also projects are more expensive. Inflation moved up the cost of a lot of transportation projects on average 50 to 70%. So this is a proposal from DOT. So you're seeing it in the news. You've probably seen in the Washington Post, Maryland Matters, a bunch of other Baltimore Sun, a bunch of other papers. This is a proposal about, given their existing budget, this is what they'd have to be, and the revenue they have coming, this is what they'd have to do. The cuts could be avoided by action with the legislature to increase revenue sources. So if the legislature, which comes back, as folks may remember, comes back in session in January next month for the first couple months of the year, if they take action, we may see these cuts avoided, and those cuts particularly may come to two agencies that kind of provide service into their city and county: Maryland State Highway Administration, which covers all the state roads, and the Maryland Transit Administration, which folks may think about as running service in the city of Baltimore, which they do, but they also fund the MARC, which goes up by our community up into Baltimore and to downtown. And they also provide funding to locally operated transportation services across Maryland, which includes the county's bus system called the bus, which runs a lot of community circulators. So cuts to those systems will have some pretty significant impacts. So this could mean, potentially delays on Route 1 and Queens Chapel's improvements that we've been asking for, potential reduced state funding opportunities for the city to chase, and reduced funding and service to Metro and also the county transportation county's bus system. Within that, you may have also seen some of the challenges around Metro in the news. Metro is in a similar place. Budget challenges due to project cost inflation, ridership losses. Right now they have a $750 million budget gap for next year, which is a lot of money. So Metro as well has put out a proposal for next year that says, unless the regions, Maryland, DC, Virginia, possibly federal government, are able to identify new revenue sources, here is what their budget looked like, and here is what their impact. So, there is going to be an opportunity in January once they fully present a budget for public input, and that is a point where we should, as well as MDOT, make sure to provide comment. So, obviously, to find ways to get the budget where it needs to be. If that's not possible, to minimize the cuts so they don't impact Mount Rainier as significantly, because we really have a lot of, as folks know, enormous number of people in this community use public transportation, walk, bike. I mean, it's over almost combined about half in terms of commute share. So it's really, a lot of these modes of transportation are really critical, especially for low and moderate income folks in our community. Some of the impacts as the budget's set right now: all stations will close at 10 p.m. 10 stations will be shut completely. It's likely by ridership. They haven't identified stations yet, but I did want to mention West Hyattsville is not in the lowest 10 by ridership across the 100 stations or so. It's right about in the middle, because it has relatively high ridership from all the apartment complexes in Hyattsville, Mount Rainier around it. But, anything could be up. Frequency would be significantly reduced. Metrobus could reduce nearly half of its bus lines, eliminating 67 of the existing 135 lines and 41 lines of sea service reductions. This is kind of what it looks like. And I'll actually I'll show you real quick a list as well. So, within our community, that would involve the F1 and F2 being eliminated. And then that's the routes that go through Mount Rainier going to like Tacoma Park and New Carrollton. They kind of crossways across our community up 34th and up 31st and Rainier Avenue. 83 and 86 and T14, T18, those are buses that run in Rhode Island to downtown DC and out to New Carrollton and up to College Park. Those would have reductions as well as the G8. That's the bus that goes down from Kaywood Gardens all the way down Eastern Avenue into DC. So, again, it's a pretty bad budget. It has incredible impacts that would be very significant for our community. Next steps, again, we don't have clarity right now. These proposals will be acted on the Maryland legislature when the session starts in January 2024. Budget cuts may be avoided if new revenue identified, but just want to flag all this for you and put this out right now so folks have clarity of vision and what could be ahead. We should be monitoring when there is an opportunity to provide feedback. We should to make sure to mitigate any impacts to Mount Rainier and the most vulnerable residents in our community. So that is it, and that is my transportation update. Thanks.
The very short transportation update, right?
Sorry.
You're fine. Thank you for providing it. I think the other piece to keep in mind and to bring up is like, so a lot of things that I do is like go testify in Annapolis and be very active with them. We also have a team that advocates in our behalf. So any information we find or they find, they communicate it. And also we write letters and do the wonderful thing to let them know how we strongly feel when it comes to the bus routes. The city of Mount Rainier already submitted letters and comments. We have also discussed it in other open meetings. I think there's been at least 2 letters we have submitted, probably more, and stated how we feel about any cuts coming through. As well as like when I go ahead and meet with the governor's team, right? I let them know how we do not want the HORs to be cut. That's how we use their revenues. For many years, we did not receive them. We fought really, really hard, and by we, I mean me and the whole Maryland Municipal League, NLC, right? A bunch of people like fought to make sure they reinstated it. About 3 years ago, they reinstated. So we're like, we just got a portion of it back. We want to make sure you guys don't continue cutting, because if you guys remember correctly, many years ago, when 100% of the HUGARs got removed from Mount Rainier was forced to raise taxes because the budget was hit severely, right? And with budget cuts coming from the state, and also the county has told us that there are going to be some cuts, we need to make sure that we secure the limited funds that we receive just for being a municipality based in a very small equation, right? So that's what we're doing. So rest assured, we're going to continue fighting both in Annapolis and the state to try to make sure we protect as much as we can of the money that is coming to the city. And that's what keeps us busy from January to sometimes like as close as June as it can, right? All right. So in saying that, I believe time has run out and 2 minutes left, or 1 minute by now. Can I have at least 5 minutes? Unless you guys are good, council. If not, I knew Melissa. Thank you. If you guys are good, put thumbs up. If not, go ahead and add 5 more minutes. Okay. If you guys have any questions, I see Luke, you have you're open for question. Make a motion to add more time if you need more time.
Yeah, I'll make a motion for just 2 minutes. Just have a quick thing to say.
That was an emotion.
Okay, I move that we add 2 minutes.
All right, thank you so much. I'll go ahead and second this so we move fast on this discussion.
I would just say,
hold on.
I'm sorry.
Discussion, objection, abstention, hearing none. We're adding 2 more minutes to the item. Be precise. Go ahead, Luke.
Yeah, I think part of the grant too was paying for a project manager for all this, right, Jarrett? Like that was, so I think that's when Jared says all this grant reporting, I think that's why it's incumbent on the city manager to be on the lookout for that position, and somebody who can come in and really make sure we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's. And just want to reiterate that point here to everyone. Thanks.
Go ahead.
Stelina, you're muted. Yep.
Danielle, go ahead.
Great. And congratulations to everybody who's worked on this for so long, because I just came in at the tail end. Since the announcement, I've had some residents email me questions and stuff, so I'm just going to blanket them right now. When can residents start seeing improvements like intersections painted, like at 35th Street North and Bunker Hill, sidewalk repair like the horrible situation at 36th Street North and Bunker Hill, and speed humps going up on the streets that have terrible time with speeders like Upshur, 31st, and Rainier Avenue?
So I will give you a short answer. If you have questions, as does Danielle, I think it'll be precise for you to share with the group before the meeting, so that way the person presenting could have them ready. But right now, we're in the beginning stage. The announcement was just made public. And we're barely working through the paperwork. Jared, you could add more if you need to, but right now we're barely working through the paperwork until we're able to get the funds, but also need some documents on behalf of the city and everything that follows through. Go ahead, Jared.
Yeah, so Danielle, and just something I want to clarify, and this is helpful for folks to understand. So when you get a DOT grant, if you have costs, if you're trying to incur costs from the grant, even matching, even providing your own matching funds, you can't initiate them before the grant DOT has given you approval. So sometimes DOT might do something. DOT sometimes says you need to wait until we have formally set up the grant and signed off on it. Sometimes DOT has done something called what they call pre-award authority, which is they set a date before the formal grant paperwork is signed where you can start incurring costs at your own risk because you haven't had, some of the trainings in the background and stuff yet. So it's really great that we won this, but we can't actually, legally, we actually can't incur costs to be reimbursed from the grant until USDOT says that, okay. Now, I want to be clear that DOT sent out an initial notice with a training webinar to all the new safe streets for all recipients across the country. So they are moving quickly on it, but we do have to follow the timing of DOT. And the rules of DOT to make sure that what we're doing can be spent. One thing I also want to say is that I talked about the local funds being matched over the 5 years. We can overmatch. So if we have more and we this particular year we had more funds that were potentially available because of the amount that we allocated. So if we can overmatch in this year, it means that we are obligated to provide less in futures year. We just need to get to the 20% over the lifetime of the grant, not at least 20% every year for 5 years. So, and I know this is really boring grant management stuff, guys. It is really important, especially to make sure that we stay in compliance and that if we incur costs, they're repaid and fully funded by USDOT. So that's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Jared. And I'm
Thank you,
glad
Jared.
to
Hold
be
on,
reported
Danielle,
that
hold on, Danielle, wait. Please wait.
this is still
We
my
have been,
time.
no, it's not. Can you just stop for 1 minute? Melissa has alerted us the time has run out. It's nothing personal. 2 minutes were put on the clock. You did a quick 30-second bite and time has run out. Actually, I finished for Jared to finish his sentence, but there's a chat that shows the time has run out. This is nothing personal. I need you to wait. Guys, time has run out. Jared was in the middle of the sentence. I didn't want to cut him off as he was finalizing the say. You guys would like to add more time to the clock? Can you guys please put a motion on the floor?
Danielle, how much time do you need?
10 seconds.
Okay, I motion to have 2 more minutes. Thank you.
It's been probably moved
A second.
and probably moved in second. Any discussion? Abstention or objections? Hearing none. We're going to move to 2 more minutes. Thank you, Melissa, for alerting us. Go ahead.
Like I was saying, Jared, thank you very much for the clarification. The residents who ask the questions, I'll direct them to the YouTube video so that they can hear your answer and to answer their questions. Thank you again.
Thank you, Jared. And thank you, everybody. We're going to move on to the next item. And just a reminder, please keep tab of the chat. Melissa has been very good at letting us know if time is running out. I usually allow you guys to wrap up your sentence, and I need you guys to please follow through with it to make life a lot easier for all of us. Okay? All right, moving on to the next item. Presentation and discussion, the FY24 State Revitalization Program Grant. Director of Economic Development, Mr. Ronald Hopkins, will make a presentation to Mayor and Council on the $75,000 FY24 State Revitalization Program Grant awarded to the city for the 34th Street Facade Improvement Project. Mr. Hopkins, first of all, thank you so much for your work on this project and also for the other $100,000 that you received. And for the Rhode Island money, I mean, you definitely have helped shape the city completely. So we're very grateful to have you as part of our team. So I'm ceding you the floor for your presentation. I just wanted to make sure you know that we're thankful and very appreciative of all your work and your team support, okay? Go ahead.
Yes, you're quite welcome, Mayor and Council, and Thank you very much for all your praises. So next time, that's a tough act to follow, like $75,000 after $9.7 million. So I should be on the front end instead of the back end, but excellent presentation. So first, I want to thank Governor Westmore for the $63.7 million allocation to state revitalization projects. And we were pleased to announce that we did receive $75,000 for our Rhode Island Avenue 34th Street facade improvement project. So this project actually begins on 3801 34th Street all the way up to 3858 34th Street. So that includes on the 3801 block, it includes Dora's Kitchen on one side and Colors by Tangi on the others. And at the other end, the former A-Life at the end of the block and Francis's Restaurant and Carryout. So there are, on the right side going up 34th Street, there are 7 properties that will be affected by this grant. And on the left side going up, 12 properties that will be affected by the facade improvement project. So it's a total of 19 commercial properties that will be impacted due to this project. So I'm open for questions and answers. I think that's the best way that I can address anything, but that's the basic format of what we received and how it's going to be allocated.
So, Mr. Hopkins, can you just go into very short detail how is it that it's worked? Because I know our facade improvement is different than others. Facade improvement, even from our neighbors, when they have match 1-to-1 or percentage math or even applications. What makes our facade improvement grant so much different than the other ones?
So in the city of Hyattsville and other municipalities, they do a 20% match, and they also have an application fee to apply for the facade improvement. So it's a 1-to-1 match plus a 20% buy-in and an application fee. So we don't charge our business owners anything. You know, we just use all the grant monies to go towards a facade improvement, and that's what makes us different. But the business owners can actually add to it. For example, if once the design team draws their different specifications, they can actually add to the project using their own funds. But basically, it's a free project for the businesses.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, Council, I'm going to go around. If you guys have a question, go ahead and ask for it. Jared, I'm going to start with you.
Yep. Yeah, maybe Ron, I think for anyone watching, I think maybe you could talk really briefly about previous facade improvements we've done, just so folks have a little bit of understanding of what that could look like. I think maybe just the timeline, and then sometimes we do have some business. I guess we have sometimes some business turnover. A business comes in, a new business leaves. And I know you've answered this before, but I think it's helpful for anyone watching. When how do we do the facade improvements in a way that kind of endures past a particular business? That's it.
So on the Paston Rhode Island Avenue facade improvement project, that was 18 businesses total. We received $300,000 in total allocations. $200,000 came from DHCD, and the city matched $100,000 via our $1 Million Incentive Fund and time and services added to the project as well. We hired a contractor. They bid the whole project out, and we hired a design company. We presented in front of MUTC. We got approval. We presented in front of mayor and council, and that's how the project actually got completed, and just completed early March of this year. As far as commercial storefronts that are unoccupied at the moment, we have several in the first phase of 34th Street, and also on the second phase on the 34th Street grant as well. So I'm working with the property owner. We're going to create a generic awning or some upgrades. So if any potential customer comes in to that location, they just have to add maybe some signage as well, and then we can still beautify the area. Does that answer your question, Jared? Yes. Okay.
It does. Perfect.
Thank you. Go ahead, Danielle, followed by Valerie and Luke.
Thank you. Mr. Hawkins, yeah, congratulations on the grant, and thank you so much for explaining the whole facade improvements, because I was really new to that. Backing up just a tiny bit, I know part of the phase on 34th Street was the buildings there at what I call the official downtown, where Glutton, Dioro, and Oscars and that little area. Did they not get grant money for facade? And if so, when are we going to start seeing that start?
So they don't get individual grant money. So we put out the RFP first for a design team. There's 2 phases. So neighborhood design centers conducted the first survey design. Then we have contractors being signed currently now for the second phase of the design team. Once that's complete and we have specifications as far as how much the cost allocation is going to be, how much costs are going to be allocated to each individual like commercial property, then we will like issue another RFP so a contractor can bid on it. So we're in the process now. We're moving forward as fast as we can.
Awesome. Thank you for answering my question, Mr. Hopkins.
Yeah, Mr. Hopkins, great job. Congratulations. I'm very excited to see this happen. I don't have any questions from you at this moment, but I do want to congratulate you and your team for pushing this forward, because I think facade improvements will certainly help our downtown business areas grow.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Luke. Thank you, Valerie.
Yeah, way to go, Ron. Terrific work getting the grant. I know it's a very competitive grant, so just way to go. Great work. And I've said this a lot of times about 34th Street. I think from a design perspective, I think working to make sure we can, get rid of the awnings above the store windows, because those bay windows are a nice architectural feature. And if folks could show them off the way Nieces is able to, and the way some of the storefronts down closer to the circle are able to, I think that would just be really well for the facade improvements there. And I know that for some of them, there's worry about drainage or leakage or repairs needed. And so I think if that concern comes up, I'd want to know that and know if the city can help supplement with any funding in order to make those changes necessary to sort of remove the plastic awnings that go over the bay windows, because it really takes away from the architectural value and what could really be a really cool looking block. But those bay windows are hidden, except if you see them at Nieces or a little bit more south of the circle. And I think that just looks a lot better, and it would give a consistent architectural feel to the whole block, and it would be really pretty. Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right. So Ron, I already gave you my praises to you and your team. I to them quite often, working in the community. Something that I definitely want to highlight, that they work really, really hard with the businesses to communicate, not just going once or twice, up to 5 times to try to get the information. I know Neighborhood Design Center has been a wonderful partner of us. They definitely care about our community, and I know they do a lot of gigantic projects all over. So we're very happy they think of little tiny Mount Rainier to also focus their attention and give us a lot of love, and are very generous with how they price us to be very realistic. But Ali and the whole team, please tell her thank you as well, and to your whole entire team. I know we have work really hard. I know you have in mentoring young professionals to make sure they take lead and leadership, and the various conferences that I attend. They're definitely very proud of the work that you and the young team has, the young adults have done in making sure there's actually a building next generation of economic development directors and leaders in the community. So big shout out. I know Mita has a lot of love for us. So we'll be seeing them very soon, but all around very good. And I know they have a team here that works and is very much focused on economic development. So thank you for that as well. I know they were still wonderful to me when I spend time with them or have questions about the economic waves that are coming from the city. So that's been very important. So that's just my statement to you. I don't have no questions. I basically know how the process works, but also the other members of council have also asked the questions that the residents might have. So they covered my part. All right. Anything else to add, Ron?
No, it's been a pleasure working with the team, and we're moving forward.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. Let me see that agenda. Thank you, Ron. Have a good night, okay? And we do value those $75,000. They're not little money. It was really hard. And I saw the list. It's like not everybody got them, and some of them got even less. But as long as we get some money to help us, thank you for extending the city dollars for that, okay?
Very well. Good night.
All right. Thank you. Moving on to the next item, we have our Director of Code here. Update and discussion on Prince George's County Better Bag Bill. Director of Code Compliance, Ms. Ferrufino, will give an update on the County Council Better Bag Bill. This is an informational item. I know the county is doing a lot of work and informing the businesses. We also have MRBA here with us. We did reach out to them, and they're very well informed and diverse in all these things as well, but they're also here to support. All right, Mr. Rufino, the floor is yours.
So good evening, Mayor and Council, City Manager and residents. Thank you for having me here. I'm definitely going to be brief in what I need to say so that everyone has a chance to actually ask questions. As you know, Prince George's passed a Better Bag Bill. You know, it's something that I guess everybody was looking forward. We know that there's a big problem when facing plastic pollution, I guess, in the whole world. So this is a stepstone that we are happy to actually announce that PG County is part of that. And we are definitely, you know, welcoming it and enjoying it. So one of the objectives of the Better Bag Bill is reducing the plastic pollution and single-use waste. Is to also incentivize shoppers to bring their own bags. So this is something that we're hoping as a city to educate our residents and also business owners to make sure that they start, you know, implementing this as of, like we said, January 1st, 2024. This is something that definitely the county will be enforcing. As a city, we're just gonna be, I guess, monitoring it. We don't have an ordinance per se that is gonna be used in regards to this. Nonetheless, we are definitely gonna work together with the county to let them know if there's anything that we need to address. What residents need to know is that all retail establishments, stores, restaurants may not provide a plastic bag. So they will need to either pay 10 cents to receive a bag, a paper bag, or a reusable bag, or bring their own bag. So just make sure that businesses are definitely ready to get this started, making sure that they either I guess buy some reusable bags and sell them for 10 cents, or have ask their customers to bring in their own bags. One of the things that I definitely want to say is that we need a little more implementation into this. I know that our communications department has been very diligently at communicating, you know, via all type of communications regarding it. But I know that we have to do a little bit more when it comes to as the city, as the municipalities. So I'll definitely get together with the other departments and see what else can be done in regards to helping the community and helping the businesses get this situated and, you know, have a momentum to start the whole program. Any questions?
All right, thank you, Alma. And I think that the city, what they also done is like been putting out the information that the county has, so that we have been sending a unified message through all of our channels. I believe it's also on my personal page. So council, if you guys go add it to your personal page and information, send it out as well to remind the residents. Jimmy, I know your hand is raised. I'm gonna give you the floor first on behalf of MRBA. Go ahead.
Thank you, Alma, and thanks everybody, council. I think most of our businesses are know about the new law, but we will advertise it. Alma, if you could send me the PowerPoint, we'll send it out to people. I think one thing you didn't say though, I mean, businesses can give people their own bags, along they're not plastic. Like a number of businesses like Penny Royal have always provided paper bags for people to take. So it's not that they have to pay for bags. If a business wants to voluntarily give customers a bag, that's permissible, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie, and thank you for MRBA's support on getting that information out as well. Okay, Council, I'm gonna go do a quick run around. Let me know if you need to skip. If we're good, if you have a question for Alma, you need to make, we don't need to make declarations, but if you have a question for Alma, please let us know. Luke, I'm gonna start with you.
I'm all good. Thank you, Alma, for presenting and for being on top of this issue.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Valerie?
Yeah, thank you. I think this presentation is helpful. I think this is a good push by the county to reduce plastics in our system. So thank you. And I look forward to seeing how it goes.
Perfect, Danielle, then Jared.
Yes, thanks for this presentation. And I did have a resident ask me, do we know how this is going to affect people who use shopping services like Shipt or Instacart? I know that Amazon Prime already uses paper bags, so that's not an issue. But like with Instacart, because I've used Instacart and I have a couple of neighbors who do, while they're at work, you know, they come home and their groceries are there. Do we know how that's going to affect them? Do you know if the county's been in touch with them? Just looking for some clarification on that.
No, not exactly, but we can definitely look into it and get back with you with that.
Awesome, thank you.
Jared?
No, thanks Alma for doing this update, and thanks for the update to residents. This is, again, just to remind everyone on the call, this was a county bill. We're the last basically county in the region to basically not have the bag tax and the sort of a plastic bag ban. So it's something kind of Prince George is catching up on. And the county, Jimmy, I appreciate the work that MRTV is doing. Alma, I appreciate the work that you're doing in terms of outreach. The county really, honestly, it's the county's responsibility to publicize their bill. They have done a decent job. They could have done a better job. And I know you're both, all your on the ground work, code and MRBA is going to help kind of help push across the line and help do additional messaging we need. So thank you so much. Thank you.
So Jamie, Jamie had a question. Hold on, Jamie. One more question is, if there is a violation of this, will the city contact the county or make its own violation? Alma, go ahead and answer that. I'll make that my question.
Yeah, so it's something that it's overseen by the county. So we'll be in touch with the county when it comes to violations. They will be the ones enforcing.
So, good, Jimmy?
Yeah, thank you.
So there's not one in the books for us yet, but if we see it's a big problem in the city, we could go ahead and write it up, right? But that's kind of where we're at. We're gonna see how it works. And if the city, if the county seems to be working for us, then fine. If not, we need to write one to to add a violation to ours. But I think at this point, we're gonna let the county write it on and work with our businesses to make sure it happen. Big thank you also to our communications team, who also has been putting information out easy enough to read and bullet points and everything as well. Other than that, please reuse your bags. The city has provided various bags through the years, beautiful bags. And if you're getting a basket, you're getting beautiful yellow reusable bags as well. This is the new color for this year. So Alma and the whole entire code team, thank you so much for being very proactive and putting this information out. I know you guys do that a lot when it comes to pre-informing the residents, businesses, and everybody else. So that way, when you guys knock on the door, they already seen you, heard of the information, so it's nothing new. All right, saying that, thank you so much. And as a reminder, this definitely helps us as well as we meet our green initiative goals for the city, right? So that's an extra help to try to get us there. Okay, thank you guys so much.
I could put this in the oatmeal.
Yes, my love, I will open this so you could put it in the oatmeal. All right, moving on to the next item. There you go. Have a good night, Emma. Thank you so much. Discussion update on ARPA status and proposal to use funds for municipal boundary expansion of research and options. Councilmember Stolfus and Woda will discuss using up to $50,000 in ARPA funds to research options and develop a plan for municipal boundary expansion. So Valerie or Jared, whichever you two want to go do you guys want to go first, or because it says update? Usually Luke gives us the update rundown, but do you guys, is that what you intended to, or you guys just want to present? Get clarity, Valerie and Jared.
So I think that you know, the last time the city has talked about municipal boundary expansion was back in 2016. And I think Jarrett and I have been talking a little bit about kind of what it would look like to re-engage in that effort, and to see, you know, what the opportunities are, what the engagement would look like, how it would go. And so we thought about, you know, an ARPA update in terms of, I mean, we obviously have some ARPA funds left over still. And so we thought this might be a good, you know, one single time use, to hire project team to put together some options and opportunities for us to engage on that, especially as the Queens Chapel area is set to redevelop in the future. And so thinking through what the long term vision for that area would be for the city of Mount Rainier. So I will leave it there. Jarrett, do you want to jump in on that as well?
No, I would just mention, you know, we're a city. I mean, one of the frustrations I think we hear from residents a lot is, you know, our people want services. People also don't want high taxes. And we don't have a very large commercial tax base. Other cities in the region, Hyattsville, for instance, has, you know, larger retail centers, has you know, additional resources within the boundaries, that it also provides significant services above and beyond what the county does. So, you know, it's something we just wanted. It's something, the municipal boundary expansion is something that Maryland's 160 some municipalities, and many of them have embarked upon this in the past. It's not something every community chooses to do. There's, you know, trade-offs, there's benefits and costs, you know, sometimes more costs in the short term than the long term, with benefits coming long term, or, you know, vice versa. So it's something we just wanted to. I know this has been a topic that in the past previous councils have discussed, and we wanted to kind of just bring it up for a broader council discussion. So that's it.
Thank you so much. You guys didn't quite answer my first question, which was, do you want a overall ARPA update? Do you guys wanted to jump into the presentation? I think the answer was jump into the presentation, because usually Luke gives us the rundown of where we're at before we discuss anything as an update. Luke, are you ready to do that tonight, or where are we at? No? Okay. It is the last meeting, Luke. We'll give you a break. I mean, usually like on point, but for next time this is discussed, we usually go to a rundown of update where we are with ARPA, what have we spent, what we have not, where we're at with projects, and so on and so on and so on, how much money we have left allocated, and as well as what it looks like, if there's anything left to spend, or what are we projecting to do it. Okay. So we'll save it for the next work session. Luke, in January, can you give us an update for ARPA then? Good.
Yeah, I mean, unless you need it now, but I can do it if you need it. But yeah, okay.
We don't need it. It's fine. But you know, we'll be fine for January, so we could kick off the season. And if you notice, usually we didn't put a number of this. Anytime we talk about ARPA, we put a number in front of it. So Melissa, make sure there's a number in front of this, that anytime ARPA's even discussed in a meeting, we put a number, so that way residents know that we're addressing ARPA, because that's other fund that Mr. Kamali and the whole finance team has been very, very detailed on making sure every penny is spent and we spend it correctly. And if we granted it out, that same thing goes for it. All right, so I'm going to open up the floor to council, and I'll go at the end because I do have a couple of questions. Okay. All right. So Luke, since you had the mic open, I'll go ahead and let you go.
Yeah, I appreciate this. So we've taken a couple stabs at this, and we always need to get, like, the trick at annexation is getting 29%, 28% of the
Jimmy Tarlow.
Jimmy.
Okay. I was actually looking for the
Jimmy, you're not muted. Jimmy.
Wait, I think he's saying that he's looking for Jimmy, you're looking for the muted button? Okay, you're muted now, and then after the council, I'll pass it on to you. Okay, Jimmy? All right, go ahead, Luke.
Okay. So it's always like it's like 28 or 27 or 29%, something like that, of the value of the land you want to assess of the property that like, so in other words, if we want to annex like all of the Queens Chapel development and kind of the houses behind 7-Eleven and Arundel, you could either get all the houses, like you add up that value, and the value of all that property, I'm going to make this up, let's say it's $1 million. So you need to get, if it was $1 million, you would need to get the owners of $290,000, 29% of 1 million, to sign off. So that would either be, you know, all the homeowners sign off, or you could just get the complex that owns the strip mall to sign off. That would be one. So so in the past, we've been told that it would be easier to get the one owner of the strip mall as opposed to all the houses, because it's difficult to get that many people to sign off. And then so if we do the $50,000, I want to know, I don't want to just know how to do it. I think we know how to do it. I want like to know like how to market it and convince somebody. And like, so I want somebody who can do some intel into like, if they can talk to the owners, the storefronts, to actually reach out and see like, what do you need? Whether it's like, you know, we'll give you a break on taxes for 15 years, you won't pay taxes. Because I think you'd have to do something as big as that. Because there would be, you're not going to sell somebody on, you'll get police services and you won't get trash pickup. But that's what we can offer you. And you're going to pay us, you know, $80,000 a year in taxes. I'm going to be like, no, thank you. So like, what are the things we have to offer them? And if it's easier to just go get all the homeowners, like, how do we do that? And what does that cost? You have to pay people to do that. So I want the tactical out of this study. I don't want like what we just got. Like, I'm happy what GW just did for us, but it's just kind of like, it's the stuff that you have to do. I know the stuff we have to do. We know the stuff we have to do. I need the tactical, like, boom, 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 boom. If we're going to spend $50,000. So that's kind of what I want. Thanks.
Thank you, Luke. And I know we also been told like in the past also go for all the houses instead of the retail shop, because the retail shop person said no. So I've heard both ends. As long as we've been here, we have heard both ends. Just wanted to make sure that. Jimmy, I'm going to go around to council and then I'll get to you because I know you have like historical information you could give us as well. All right. Because I do see your hand. All right. Danielle, Valerie. Oh, sorry, Danielle. And then I'll go Jimmy since both of you guys presented. Go on.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I emailed Jared back in June or July. I know this is something we talked about too, and I'm all for it. I want to see it happen. I was right before Jimmy shook his head and you shook your head, Selena. The way we talked about it with Jared and I was, you know, we need to talk to the residents to see if this is something that they would be even interested in. And if I'm not mistaken, because I remember when this was done back in 2016 and it was discussed in 2017, there were some businesses like the Checkers or Dunkin' or something like that were interested in it, but the owner of that strip mall was not into it at all. So I'm all for doing whatever we can to get this done. Not a big fan of spending $50,000, you know, to maybe see if it can be done, but if it's something we think that we can do, then I'm all for it, because we need to find a way to increase our tax base so we can give some kind of break and relief to those that are making up for it in their own taxes, and bringing in more businesses that already have, you know, a higher foot traffic like the strip mall there would give a lot of tax break to the city and take a lot of the burden off the residents, and by offsetting it with more business tax revenue. So thank you very much, Jared and Valerie, for bringing this forward.
Jamie, I'm going to see you the floor before I speak. Go ahead.
Is that me, Selena?
Yes, go ahead.
So I appreciate people's interest in this. I do have a history of this, and actually, as a delegate, represented the residents there and went door to door in that whole neighborhood, which is called Avenue Ridge, Woodbridge. It's across the street. And basically, the big issue is taxes. They pay basically 30% less taxes than we do in Mount Rainier. And if you ask people, they just really do not want to pay the higher taxes there for the residents. And it was unanimous. It wasn't like, not unanimous, but it was overwhelming. For the businesses, about 15 years ago, there was interest because there were a lot of break-ins at the Queens in around where the Giant used to be, and they were interested in the Mount Rainier police force. And there were negotiations that went on with Harvey Mizell, who's the owner. I think it'd be worth sitting down with him and just chatting what the concerns are. I mean, I think Luke is really right on that the issue is, I'm not sure you need the money to answer those questions. But, you can maybe do some preliminary discussions with the owners and then see where to go on this thing. Unless, Jared and people have kinds of questions in a quiet approach, which would solicit a favorable response. My experience is it's like, people have been talking about for years, it's just not there. But anyway, that's my 2 cents. I don't want to throw cold water on it, but I just, haven't felt it is really that worthwhile. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Jimmy. I think that more or less in the mentality that we need to sit down to figure out if this is even a possibility with the business owner. Because from what I've heard of other negotiations, they wanted 99 years of like free tax and all the services. I'm saying they're going with the next 6 years, what they're looking at, we could barely even support on it. We're short on staff when it comes to, we have barely enough officers to cover our overpopulated area, right? And adding all those homes is just not going to be an easy task for the kind of stuff that we need, is including more money for dumping fees for the trash cans, more police, when it comes to code and everything else, right? So that's something that I think preliminary would be good to sit down and figure out what their issues are, what is it that they see, what is it that they not just listening to them, even if it's a possibility, right? And then figure out, but I will agree with Luke that if we do move forward with this, I need a tactical approach, not necessarily how it's done, because we could get a team to get it done, right? But if it's not, we're another 50,000 down on it. That I will tell you this right now, we have 3 million supposedly we need to cover, right? And the way the state and the county are looking right now, we're gonna have to find ways, even within this budget, to like carry a big surplus, like I mentioned to a few of you guys, right? I think that even with this budget, stop thinking about like, let's suspend every single line item down to the penny, because we need to carry a heavy surplus to carry us through what the next year will look like. And by that, I mean, start like, tying up our belts in this budget and then be ready for what next year budget looks like. I know a couple of us already brought it up, right? So I'm open to sitting down with the owners and having a meeting and figure out exploratory to look what it looks like. Also talk to at least our economic development team to see if like they have even made, they have been approached or where they see this going, right? So that we do have some feedback and information. And in doing that, at least have a first assessment of what it looks like, and now quiet down so that way, Jared, have your hands so that way at least like, I'll give you guys another, I'll go back to you guys because I didn't give you time to say anything after presented. Go ahead, Jared, and then Valerie.
Yeah, thanks, Selena. And I think, so the idea of this obviously was bringing this back to the full council, because I think we've never talked about it at a work session. So that was the intent of this discussion. I think the idea was, do we need to put sort of a bookmark on ARPA funds as it relates to, thinking about this item. And I want to be clear, I'm fully on board. That was up to a certain amount, not the idea that we think just looking at the topic would be that much. But, if there is on the ground engagement that we need to do directly. But Selena, I hear you on the, and Danielle, I hear you on the, the work some of the work we can do ahead of time. One thing I just wanted to frame this, in terms of why we're also thinking about it. So if you look at the, and that thing that things being different than they potentially have been in the past. So, if you look at the land, so most of Mount Rainier is bounded in by, Brentwood, by Cottage City, by the District of Columbia. On the northwest side, it's unincorporated county. And a lot of that is as of a recent rezoning, a recent transportation sector plan from Maryland National Capital Park and Planning is actually zoned to do potentially a lot more dense development. So, one of the things I'm thinking about here is if there's an opportunity to expand the city's boundaries, there may be a short-term, impact, right, that we may have to think about considering bearing, but the long-term trajectory of the area around West Hyattsville Station in particular is a lot of transit-oriented development, a lot more commercial dense development, and a lot more sorry, do I need to have more time? Sorry.
Yeah, please, I was asking you to finish your sentence, and if you could put at least, like, can you give me 5 more minutes to give enough time for Valerie to also speak? Can I have 5 minutes on the floor, please?
I'll second it.
It's moved in second. Yeah, Jared, thank you.
All right.
Before any discussion, objection, abstention, hearing none. We already 5 more minutes. Sorry, guys. I need to make sure we follow through with it so that was fair for everybody. Go on, Jared. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that. But yeah, so a lot more. There's possibility of additional dense development on that existing footprint. So even if if we have a way of pulling it in now, maybe there's as we mentioned, there is a abatement, but for existing property owners. But once that lands in the city, as there's new development, if there's an opportunity, then it may generate a lot more long-term revenue, because in our city, right, our single family houses are not going anywhere. There's not the opportunity to rezone that for denser development, right? There's not our commercial corridor, which is largely historic. There's not going to be a much deeper additional footprint. So we really are limited in terms of revenue and potential additional commercial tax revenue, and the basically economic development boom hitting the Route 1 corridor. You see, developments coming up and down. You see new development at the West Hyattsville Metro. There's, there's a possibility where that looks very different. And I think if we can, we'd like to be a part of that. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Valerie, I'm going to open up the floor to you because I want to make sure you get your first round outside your presentation.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to everyone for listening to this discussion. I think this is a good time to really think through this, like Jared was saying. I think it makes sense for us to kind of put our heads together a little bit further and to take next steps, and then to potentially come back at the January work session with some more details on what this would look like. We wanted to have an initial conversation with you guys to start. So that's where this is. But I'll stop there and let the floor go back to you.
Thank you so much, Valerie. So I think at this point, more or less, I would like for us to do maybe exploratory committee to figure out what it looked like, starting with steps of like reaching out, who are the key contacts that we want to go and communicate. And that's as I will leave it, because it's more of a strategy session than anything. So we'll have a conversation with the city manager, probably pull some other historical information in case, Jamie, if you could make yourself available to help us out with any historical questions that we might have, we definitely appreciate it. Brian's also a good resource as well, right? So that will be going with full understanding of what conversations have happened in the past and what conversations we want to tackle in the future. And then we could bring it back to January or figure out if we have enough time. Because do remember, holiday season starts basically like after we hang up this call. Fully aware of that, right? All right. So we'll move on with that. Jerry, Valerie, we're good with that? Yes? Okay, Jerry, your camera is off, but good. I see what you're doing, Jerry. Okay, good. Council, we're good? All right, moving on to the next item. Let me see, where are we? Discussion and, thank you, Melissa. Discussion and proposal to resume in-person council meetings in January. Councilmember Daniel Carr will propose the city council resume in-person council meetings starting in January 2024. And Melissa, when is our first meeting? Is our first meeting January 2nd?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the day after New Year's Day. All right, go ahead, Danielle.
All right, thank you, Mayor. I think it is far time for us to get back to in-person meetings. I have been hearing residents and business owners calling for this since I started my campaign almost a year ago now. I heard a room full of residents at my community meeting echo this exact sentiment not even a month ago. They want to see us in person so that they can look us in the face and talk to us instead of some max headroom on a computer screen. I was told that this was impossible since Potts Hall is not finished and there is no room at City Hall to do in-person meetings. However, on May 8th of this year, there was an in-person council meeting at the police station community room when Valerie and I were sworn in. I had friends and family from all over the globe tune in to watch, even as far away as Hungary, and they did so without any problems. To do an in-person meeting boils down to only one thing: desire. We have a choice of 3 venues to do these meetings in. We have the community room at the police station that we fund and pay for to begin with. Then we have the nature center, and finally the very large community room at the Bunker Hill Fire Department. Now, I was assured that if we wanted to use the room at the fire department for our council meetings, that could easily be accomplished. If people can go live on their phones and do social media from these facilities, then there's absolutely no reason why we cannot hook up a laptop and go hybrid with residents on Zoom, as well as those who want to be in the room. Everybody knows that I'm the mask councilwoman because I go nowhere without wearing my mask. If you are concerned about COVID, the flu, cold, then just wear a mask. Since we have the technology, if one of us is out of town when there is a meeting, then we can set it up to allow us to Zoom in. That is not a problem. I remember years ago when Shivali was on the council, and I could be getting this confused, but if my memory serves me correctly, she was out of town at least once, but still was able to call into the meeting. And this was before Zoom. One more point: we have all gotten far too comfortable behind our keyboards, microphones, and webcams. At any time, we can turn off our cameras, mute our microphones, or text with each other. That is a kind of security blanket that we need to just get rid of. I'd like to read a portion of an email that I did receive from one of my constituents. Thank you for taking the initiative to invite Ward 1 constituents to your community meeting to discuss our concerns. It was very refreshing to speak to our council member in person. Many residents, including myself, feel as though we are being ignored and we only see our officials in person at election time. We need to be involved. We voted for inclusion in our government affairs. This is what freedom is all about. We the people need to confer with council in person. With that, I am proposing that we resume in-person council meetings starting in January 2024. I do believe that the residents do deserve that. Thank you.
Jared, go ahead.
Yeah, so hey, thanks Danielle for bringing this topic to the meeting. And I just want to be clear. I think it's really important to have in-person contact. I mean, that's why that's why all of us are out and about at many community events. I mean, I think Selena may top it, and all of us getting out there, but all of us are present at multiple events. We're out in the community. Folks see us. I do realize that in-person council meetings do have a benefit that the virtual one does not. So, but I wanted to frame this around a couple things. So, one thing is that if we do go back to an in-person meeting, we also need to have a hybrid option, because I've heard from many folks that the presence of the ability to have a virtual option, it would basically do a hybrid, is really important for a lot of folks that work, that have kids. A lot of folks can show up in person, but you tend to, and studies bear this out, that you tend to have a more democratic and broader array of people if you have a virtual option as well. So that's the first thing. And to frame for folks listening, one of the reasons we are where we are, our city hall space is very limited, like is the built in the 90s. If you've ever been in it, it's for staff and council and folks presenting, plus any audiences. I mean, I went to many meetings back in the day where, you'd be immediately, if there's more than 15 residents, you're standing on the stairs. And that's part of the reason we embarked on this, incredible effort to build new civic space, get money for Potts Hall. And, as part of that right now, the space at City Hall is actually really not available, because the City Hall is actually under construction with Potts Hall, right? So, but running an effective hybrid with both virtual and a virtual and a in-person option means that we need to have a space that can both effectively work with the audiovisual demands needed for a council meeting, for a 2, 3, 4 hour council meeting, and that means like a permanent station space. That also means that we also needed the virtual option to, be as clear and as workable as being there in person. You did mention you're swearing in. I mean, done mine swearing in virtual as well. But I mean, if we're setting up a laptop so folks can essentially watch it, but folks, you didn't have, up to like think about one of our last police advisory, the police update. I mean, we at times we had up to 50, 60 folks, we had 40, 50 people, residents come in, plus folks presenting, plus city staff, plus council, and so forth. So, the dynamics associated with doing an effective hybrid meeting and also the permanent space requirements, I would, so I'm fully in agreement that we need to get back there. The reason we're not is in this sort of unique space we're in, trying to create because we're headed towards a goal where we have a civic space where we can actually use that's actually usable. So, to that end, I'd want to also just, I don't know if you'd conferred with staff on the AV requirements and the space requirements and the impacts of if it's not a permanent space, what does it take to build up and tear down that space for the meeting every 2 weeks if it's not in a permanent space? So I think if possible, hearing feedback from staff and would probably be really helpful. And I've talked quite a bit, so I will see the rest of my time if I have any. Thanks.
I know, Jared, like a second. Thank you so much. And I'm going to go to council, and I'm definitely going to talk to Mr. Kamali and the staff as well, because they could better. I will say to you guys, like before you guys bring items to the agenda, can you guys please confer with staff, because that way they could give us better information when we present. It definitely makes it hard for us to just try to pull an answer for them like at the meeting. That's something that should have been brought up to staff to see if it's even capable or not to be done, so that we're not even thinking about entertaining something that it might not be doable, because Jared, they brought a lot of good points when it comes to the setup and the tear down. All right, Valerie, and then Luke.
Yeah, I mean, I'm eager to get back into person. I think that's something that's definitely, necessary. I also see the issues that Jarrett is bringing up, and part of the reason why last year I think we talked about, should we go back to hybrid or not? And I think there were kind of major challenges to that, just in the way that the video quality would be for in-person and hybrid meetings. And so I think it would make sense to investigate this a little further to figure out which location you'd prefer, because if we're moving from the police station to the nature center to the to the fire department, I think you're going to have some confusion with residents. If you're going to pick one place, then is that place always available every 2 weeks? And I think just the staff time and capacity that we have to pull that off, I think is very critical. But I am eager to get back into person. I've actually not been in an in-person council meeting except for the budget hearing one time. So, I would like at some point to get back to that as soon as possible, if possible. So with that, I'll stop for now.
Thank you, Valerie. Luke.
Yeah, thanks for bringing this up, Danielle. I think I just have a couple of concerns. One is the staff just going to a new place every 2 weeks and having to set up stuff and come back. I just want to talk to them and figure out what would work best for them. I think it would be cleanest to like kind of go to a new place permanently, and so I think that's why it kind of makes sense for the construction to be done and do then. But it is nice to be in person. It's nice to be in. So I understand that. The feedback I've gotten from residents has been virtually. I have not had much feedback from residents being like, you should go back in person. It's been, they are happy to be able to attend. They're happy that we're still having virtual meetings. So if we do go back, keeping that hybrid option, we just really need that because residents have been very happy at our ability to keep these on Zoom. When we have calls that are, I've noticed that when we have issues that, there's something big that a lot of people are concerned about or talk about, prior to going to Zoom, it's like, hey, I can't make it, but this is how I feel about it. I'd get a lot of those emails. And instead of getting those emails now, it's like we get 60 people on a Zoom call or 40 people on a Zoom call, which is just like, if you had a big issue come up and you got 10 people there, that was like a big group setting. And so I think that's why hybrid matters, but I just want to talk to staff about when it makes sense to go back in person. It does at some point, so just want to hear from staff about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. I think there's 5 minutes on the clock. I'm gonna talk to staff before I make my comment, but just to give you guys a little bit of feedback, in order to set up the photo session or photo capability for Santa's photo, the staff had it to be there more than 2 hours before to set it up and bring equipment and everything else to make it happen. And that was like a very small photo setting. It wasn't even video. Had it been video, I mean, like there was no way. And even that, we do as much as we can, limited. But it's very hard. It's I think that's something to consider. This is not a small 1 hour and a half event. It's like sometimes 4 to 5 hours. So it's also the capability of having a space open sometime for us to go at it as long as we need to. And there's times where we're done at 10:30. There's times where we've been done like closer to midnight and so on. And that's also part of the things that we need to consider. But I won't say anything else. So Kamali or Melissa, can we get some feedback from you guys? And I'm sorry I'm putting this position. I'm gonna try to make sure council. So moving forward, you guys, I'm gonna make sure you guys, there's a check box or something on the agenda that says you spoke to council to get this to city manager to get some of this previous information. So that was included in anything, because the reality, if not, we're putting the staff like on last minute notice to give us feedback, and that does not work very well. So either Mr. Kamali or Melissa, I know Melissa's the Director of Administrative Services. Let me know if you guys could give us some feedback, what it will take for hybrid, because we also have to record and in person. So at least 2 or 3 of those happening at the same time.
Mayor, I'm gonna just, bring few items to your attention on the council. So going hybrid is a good idea, and I appreciate Danielle for it. But we are not ready to do it because costs, we have to buy new cameras, we have to do the new wiring. And also every 2 weeks, we have to transfer everything to the new location. And then the staff capacity, they have to go 2 or 3 hours before, and the meeting ends up late at night. We have to stay there, and they have to bring everything back to the office. And this is gonna take more time for the staff. It's gonna cost the city to buy new cameras, new wiring, everything. So, but I can have Jared to look into it and give more detail, but it's not gonna be an easy, and I'm sorry, we do not have the capacity to go even to the police department. And you have to have a proper networking in order to do the streaming. And it is impossible because I talked to Jared this afternoon, and I think he's gonna put some information on the chat, or we can give you guys the information later on. But right now, if you check the chat, you can see it. And it is impossible because you have to purchase everything from scratch. So that's all we can do right now. We have to wait until the pot salt is complete, and then we can have the biggest space. The community room at the police station is a small place, and we cannot fit everybody over there. I'm sorry, I wish we could do that. Thank you, and that's all I have to say.
So may I add, request you guys to have 5 more minutes. I definitely want to read into record what Jared wrote from I apologize, Jared, I just messed up your title. Like, I would like to say coordinator for MRTV, but can I have 5 minutes on the clock? Can I have a second? Thank you, Valerie. Discussion, objection, extension, here none, 5 more minutes to be added. What Jared wrote was just a few notes I took before this meeting. Cost, new equipment purchase will need to be requested. Wiring will also be needed. Staff time placed into the factor as well for takedown. Transportation, there's a ton of equipment that needs to be hauled to these temporary locations to make this work. 2 to 3 plus hours this meetings may take. Equipment to take speakers, wiring mic system, cameras, and tripods. camera switchers, wiring for cameras, so switchers, the computers we are using for streamers, proper network needs to be established so that we don't lose any video audio feed, especially for a stream being broadcast to Zoom and Facebook or for extended amount over 3+ hours. I would say either virtual, move fully to in-person until we move into a permanent space. So that is from our staff, and I'll tell you guys where we're at. I think that sometimes we tend to forget that when and I know it's been a while. I think the last ones we were there probably was maybe Luke and maybe Jerry when you guys were in, I think. The building at our City Hall building actually had 4 cameras, rewiring, all these things added to the room itself, right? So that's the reason we were able to do certain things that we no longer are able to do. As a matter of fact, from there moving then to on, I know some of the equipment has already aged, and that's something that the city's even considering figure out what to do once we move to a new location. It's not as easy as it sounds, and we actually got a couple emails complaining that sometimes our sound for even small meetings from our committees, they could barely even like get it together because the computers and tablets and so on. And Jared, yeah, you're right. I attend a lot of in-person meetings. Just this Saturday, I was in 4 in-person meetings, 2 of them with Valerie and 4 going on, right? So it's not like we're not seeing the community or we're not in person. We are seeing all of that. But I think that at this point, just based on what the staff is saying, it's going to take more time for them to take the stuff there, break it down, and for us to be there, that it would not be the capability for us to be able to do one or the other. The other thing to take in consideration, we're asking to come back during winter as we're hearing like bad weather is coming. I love being in person. I have not been mayor in person, and trust me, this makes it very hard to run a meeting, right? But at the same time, I don't want to put ourselves in a situation where we need to move all that equipment and potentially, damage that equipment as we're moving through a beautiful winter, right? So I think we need to reconsider, have staff come back and report what the additional cost is going to be. And you guys have to decide, do we want to put all that money at temporary location or we don't? The other option is for us to be, and I don't know what the cost difference of this is, for us to be in person, but not video Zoom in this case, but just go back to old-fashioned recording. So at least for me, I hear a lot of benefit of going Zoom or live like we done in the past, right? Because you do get a lot more people. Some of our seniors have stated that allows for them to be able to tag in from the senior buildings without having to make the ride going to whatever location it's at, especially parents, leaving kids and stuff like that. So that is at least my piece. But I think at this point, the staff is going to have to come back with numbers for us to even consider what it is and what it isn't before we even move it to this January 2nd meeting. I don't even think they even have enough time to even put a complete meeting together in the meantime. Mr. Kamali, I see your hand up and I'll go with you and apologize. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Before we go further and you guys want us to work on that, I think it's good to know that I talked to Jared, and if you and Luke remember when we were doing it at the Potts Hall, we need to have 2 people. You need to have 2 IT people. And Chris and Jared were doing it. Somebody has to be behind the camera and somebody has to be on the other side to make sure that everything is recorded. Right now, I cannot really hire another person to even be part-time to do that. So that's another issue. And it's not gonna be cheap, and it's gonna have a lot of burden on my team. And I'm not gonna hold everybody late at night or to do it before the work because they're working 9 to 5 and there is no time for them to go on, set up everything. And I think, the council, I do appreciate if they understand that. We can wait and we can stay virtual until next year. I don't see any reason for the staff to go on, get the cost and everything, if you guys don't mind, but we can do it. It's going to be very costly, and we need to hire extra helper, and that's going to, be $40,000-$50,000 per year. Let me let you know that, it's not going to be cheap. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Kamali. Melissa, what's the time right now? Because I'm not sure if that time stop is older than you. My apology. Is time up for the last time we added? Thank you, Melissa. Thank you for being patient, Melissa. You're great to us. All right. So council, either we shut this down or you guys want 4 more minutes on the clock. What does it look like for you guys? I need to like thumbs up or thumbs down. What do you guys envision? You guys want to have more discussion or you guys want to wait for staff to give us more information to see if we move forward with this item? So I'm going to ask one or the other and you guys decide. Do you guys want staff to come back with more information and figure out what this looks like, or you guys want to continue discussion? Okay, so I'm going to go Luke.
I'm good. I don't need any more time. Thank you.
Jared, you could go up and down. I apologize if I'm calling you guys. Go ahead.
I mean, if we need to have additional discussion on this, I think I just want to say, I think we all want to go back in person. I really want to go back in person. All my local government. We need to make sure it works. We need to make sure the hybrid situation is not worse for the majority of folks who are going to attend by virtually. So we need to make sure that technical solution works, and we need to understand and be comfortable with the staffing and the budget requirements. And but I'm fully in support of us doing so with all those notes, bullet points.
That was a lot to say. Come back with more information.
Sorry.
But thank you. All right, Valerie, where are we?
I agree. I think we should come back and look at this a little further, maybe in like a couple of months. But that's where I'm at.
So Danielle, I just need to know because, okay, thank you, Melissa. We need more time, okay? So at this point, I'm not hearing a second for more added time. So I will say, I will
second more time. Sorry.
I finish. God, you guys, trust me, this would be a lot easier if I was in person, a lot easier because I haven't even that's what I asked you guys earlier. I'm like, do you guys want to have more time? Let me know, because the clerk's job, and I have asked her to please make sure she keeps me on time. And she's already told me like 3 times, like we already ran out of time. That's what I was asking. Up or down, let me know. If you're going to add more time, So I'm trying to follow my own rules, but you guys are not helping me. So go ahead. I will put the motion on the floor. Put in the motion floor for 2 more minutes of discussion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Objection session here. None. There's 2 minutes on the clock. Run the clock, Melissa. Thank you. Go ahead, Danielle.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to come back and just comment on a couple of things that everybody brought up. I totally get it that this is going to take a lot to do, but it's something I think that we need to invest some time at least into researching, because from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, Potts Hall is not even scheduled to be done until sometime in 2025. We can't continue doing virtual until 2025 or early 2026. We just need researching to find a way would behoove us. And I understand what everybody's saying. The fire department does have network. They actually record, or a church actually broadcasts out of there every Sunday. If we can get on the fire department, we can get every 2 weeks or for our meetings. These are things we need to look into. I spoke to Mr. Kamali. He understands that I just wanted to have a conversation with you guys, but I do ask that we at least make the step and the effort to research this, because and I did say in my presentation, I did say in my presentation, it's written here that I said hybrid was a good idea so that everybody can be there, those that want to be in person and those who don't. But I still think that we seriously need to look into this as an option, because our residents deserve it to be back in person. So thank you very much for at least hearing me out and having this discussion.
All right, thank you. Mr. Kamali, thank you to your team as well for pulling this information as fast as you guys did. I know it's a little complicated to do that. I think we heard that everybody wants to go back, but there's a lot of limitations to do it. And I think at this point, if it's going to be moved somewhere, it has to be somewhere where they could be steady. And it's not just moving the equipment, it's also moving it back, because there's a lot of expensive equipment. It's not cheap, right? So I'll leave it as that. All right, moving on to the next item, presentation discussion for creation of African American History Committee. Councilor Mercado will introduce, okay, I need clarity on this because I never heard it's been introduced. Her proposal to create an African American History Committee for the city of Rainier. So can somebody give me clarification on this? Because I know it was discussed in the budget, but Melly, was this discussed in any other previous agenda and I'm missing it?
Yes, Mayor, I think we had it like a couple months ago
Okay.
when Councilman Carter first came on board.
Back in May?
I think
Last
probably
legislation
June.
season?
I don't know the exact date, but yes, something.
Last legislation season. All right. If anything, thank you, Melly. I wasn't sure because I don't remember in the budget. I can't remember where else it is, but it's already late for me. All right, go on, Danielle.
All right, thank you. You might remember, this is funny, this is the first sentence of my statement. You might remember that at the May 16th council meeting, I introduced a proposal to create an African American Historic Committee for the city. The committee's sole purpose would be to design and create programming that will enhance outreach, education, and engagement within the community during African American Heritage History Month. Since then, I have heard from numerous residents who support this effort, especially here in Mount Rainier, considering our dark past as a sundown town. The creation of this committee would be one step towards helping replace the sundown town stigma that continues to loom over us with the reputation of resilience and adaptability. I have also gotten emails from residents who not only support my proposal from May, but also the establishment of a line item to fund programming, education, and events for African American History or Heritage Month. I think to refuse to do this would be the equivalent of saying we are okay with the negative history our city has had towards our African American residents all along. It is time to make this committee happen, especially here in Mount Rainier. Then there is the suggestion that another council member made at the same meeting to maybe combine everybody into one committee. I'm not really sure how that would work, but I'm starting plans right now to hold a community-wide heritage festival sometime in the spring, where we will celebrate the heritage of everybody who desires to participate. For instance, I will be there with my Irish bells on, though I doubt I will dance the jig unless someone shows up who knows how to play a mean fiddle. But be that as it may, doing that will never be the substitute for the good that will be done for our community by having an African American History or Heritage Committee. I did speak to the finance contractor. This was back in May or June, and he told me that it is much easier for him to find $5,000 for a committee or a project than it would be to find $50,000 for something else. So I have faith that we can find the money to fund this committee as well. And to quote another resident who emailed me on this exact topic, it is important to teach younger generations about the struggles and oppression imposed by African Americans based solely on race. With a growing national movement to change and falsify history, as well as banning books, we have a responsibility to preserve the truth and to acknowledge and celebrate our history. With that, I will say creating this committee for that purpose is but one small thing we as a city can do to help contribute to the greater good. Thank you very much.
Okay, Luke.
So with this, just some questions here. So this would be, how many people would be on the committee and who would be appointing them?
I envision it seeing it like the recreation committee. You have like a small board, whoever sees the funds, but it's open to whoever in the community who wants to join it to help with the development of the programming and events and volunteers and stuff like that. So I would see like a small 3 to 4. CERT has 4, some have 5, recreation has 4, it depends.
Okay.
As far as a board is concerned.
And then, would we do this again for like, would we have a committee for other heritage months as well?
That's up to you. I'm advocating for the African American. I mean, if you want to have an Irish community council, I'm there. I'm just advocating for the African Americans.
Right. I understand that. I'm just wondering what, Latino Heritage Month, I think, the two big population groups for the city, African Americans and Latinos. So just wondering if there would be thoughts about having a similar program then for Latino Heritage Month.
I think it'd be great to have a Latino Heritage Committee too. But again, I'm only advocating for the African Americans.
Okay.
So I'm open to, I think if every racial group in Mount Rainier wants to have a committee, then that's fine. But I do believe that the two largest groups in Mount Rainier, which are the African Americans and the Latino, do deserve that recognition, especially the African Americans, considering the history and the dark past of Mount Rainier.
Okay. I think those are my only questions. Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you, Luke. Jared?
Thanks, Danielle, for bringing this topic back. And I think, we all are cognizant of the dark history that African Americans have experienced in the U.S., particularly in this county, particularly in this city. So I thank you for the work that you're doing in terms of, thinking about, kind of uplifting, uplifting some of the voice. I mean, and some of the history. So I appreciate that. I think I think your comment. So I made a comment during the last time. I made a comment about like making sure we need to uplift the African American history and voice in this community. I think we all need to uplift. We need to uplift every. I mean, So my position is, I represent everyone in this community. I don't want to make sure that if we bring forward, something that uplifts history, voices that were previously, I guess quieter among louder ones in the history of the city, that we make sure to include everyone. So I think, I personally think, there is a way to have a broader effort that is inclusive of all groups across the city. I would just note, and I'm saying this as your only Asian American council member, one of 6 elected Asian Americans in the entire state of Maryland. Actually, a recent Governor Westmore recently appointed me to Governor's Commission on Asian Pacific American Affairs. And then quite frankly, there are a few. I just, this county, Prince George's County, was the very first place that an Asian American was elected on the mainland of the United States. So 1939. But did it never happen again? Because for every other racial group, in Latinos and Asian Americans, we were all prohibited from coming to the United States until Civil Rights Act, Immigration Naturalization Act in 1964. So the Civil Rights Act in 1964 altered the Immigration Act to ban the use of racial quotas that limited immigration to primarily Europeans. Now, obviously, the U.S. was basically primarily European descent, and then African Americans, Black Americans from the very dark and awful history and legacy of slavery in this country. But I want to make sure if we're bringing voices forward, I think we absolutely need to elevate the African American history and voice in this community. But I do want to find a way to, make sure we have a way of including that. And I don't want it to be like we're elevating Asian American history only because I'm happen to be on council at this moment, which is what it felt like. And your statement earlier about I'm only speaking for this group, we need to uplift the voice and the history of African Americans in this community. But I want to make sure we, as a council, uplift all voices as well that have been quieter. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you, Jared. Valerie?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, Danielle, I know when you introduced this before, we had questions about kind of what the committee structure would be, where the funding would come from, what the committee would be charged with doing. And I think some of those questions remain for me. I think it's important that we, recognize our history as a city. I think there are a number of cultural programs that happen kind of within the Route 1 area that the city participates in kind of collaboratively. And I think there might be opportunities to merge some of the some of this work into other committees potentially. But for me, I think the main thing is kind of figuring out what the structure is, where the funding comes from, and what the outcomes you're looking to have come out of this. What the specific, kind of charge would be. I think that would be helpful for me to understand a little bit better. I think Jarrett's right. I mean, we have to make sure that we're, uplifting all voices in the city, and we're working toward unity for everybody. So I think that's where I'm at this point. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. I would tell you that it becomes very interesting to me, especially as an Afro-Latina. And I always think it's very funny when people want to claim, they speak on behalf of people like me, but they sit there and question who I am. So I would say that is erroneous, right? The other thing is what I'm envisioning more is working collectively. And we have done it in the past for Juneteenth, Brentwood and North Brentwood united together to be able to celebrate Juneteenth. Being North Brentwood, the first incorporated city of African Americans in the area, part of our history in this area also has to be able to uplift, the residents here and in the whole entire area, because quite a few of them were exited out of Mount Rainier and into North Brentwood. But in saying that, North Brentwood has a historical society that I'm also part, and they welcome various people. It'll be interesting to see if maybe we could join forces with them in order to try to reconstruct the wheel, like some of the Mount Rainier residents. So I attend every year their luncheon, and I do as much as I can to attend their meetings, right? But some of the Mount Rainier residents are also part of the historical committee for North Brentwood. And it's always great to see them there, uniting voices and stuff like that. The other thing, is like Jaron, one of the few, right? One of the very few as well, right? Jared's number is very little. After they had a mayor in Edmonston, now they have a mayor in College Park, and it's the only one. We have 3 Latina mayors in Prince George's County for the whole entire state. So our numbers are very low, but definitely would like to figure out how we could go ahead and collaborate with other cities and bond together instead of doing tiny little groups, right? I know that Juneteenth, the city has celebrated and we have worked on. I know that for African American Month, we're working with Gateway CDC as they unite the 3 cities in order to make sure we have a representation when it comes to music, art, and everything else that goes on it. So to me, I see more working and building those organizations to be able to have a cross-cultural experience. And Mayor Monica and I, and we're trying to see if maybe a Mayor Seal, we have a multicultural day where all 3 cities are aligned. Mayor Monica just had her multicultural day at Calmer Manor. And I got a chance to stop by and visit, and we figure out let's figure out how next year we could go ahead and work to make sure we bond together. But going back to something that Valerie addressed, there's so much questions to be addressed. I think the item was just put in the agenda, but nothing that was expressed that needed information forward was brought up to us as well. And part of it has to do with everything you mentioned, Valerie. I definitely have to agree. It's just right now, let's just do this, and I'm advocating for this group and nothing else. And I definitely think that we need definitely more information, what to do it, but I'm more leaning towards how can not just Brentwood nor Brentwood and Rainier work together, probably even the Portstown, right? In order to share the history that we have collectively, and then, potentially maybe do a combined group, and have members of our Mount Rainier, community join them, because there's a lot of history within the whole entire area. And you guys know our cities are so small. You go from one city to the other without limitation, right? And I was just at Sissy's Tavern, right? I'm part of the Black Mayors Association as well. And we got to celebrate the culture, the history, and everything else that place has. So I think that part of that is also working collectively with other people that have done so much work in the area to figure out what we can do as Mount Rainier in order to not reinvent the wheel, but also bring light to the whole entire spot. And doesn't take away from our own individuality as a city. But I think that continue working in silos is just not working for us. We need to collectively start working as a region to empower the whole entire collective, but also empower each other in the multiple cultures and races that are here. And right now, there's various cultures, including the Asian culture, the African American culture, Latino culture, right? And even women, right, that are being heavily attacked, even when it comes to our residents of various religious faith, right? So I think that we need to make sure we're not tone deaf and making sure that that we need to make sure we're also elevating the voices of those people that are also residents, regardless whether 3, 4, or 1% of our community is them. They happen to be now in the minority. All right, so that is my say at this point, and I will ask you guys, Melissa. I saw your message. Thank you so much, Melissa, for being patient. I saw your message. We have less than a minute, I assume, Melissa. Less than a minute. So if you guys want to continue adding more time, please go ahead and do so. Danielle, you go have a motion on the floor if you want to add more time to this.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion at least for 2 more minutes for me to respond.
Is
Second.
there, I was gonna second it, but Jessica, thank you so much for seconding it. There is a motion that first been properly second. Any discussion? Objection, abstention, hearing none. We have 2 minutes on the clock. And Danielle, keep in mind that this is, you could keep it to 1 minute, it would probably be ideal. Okay, go ahead.
To respond to Valerie, well, let me respond to Valerie first. The first things I said was this committee's sole purpose would be to progress, to design and create programming that will enhance outreach, education, and engagement within the entire community during African American Heritage Month. And I touched on the fact that when I spoke to the finance contractor about finding $5,000 in our own budget. So I have highlighted as far as breaking down as far and like an outline, I haven't done that, but the sole purpose was I have said that in my original and in this one, and where the funding would come from. Jared, I did not at all in any way, shape, or form mean to insult or make you feel a certain way. I am an advocate. Everybody who knows me knows this. When people come to me and say, help us, we'd like you to do, I do it. If I feel convicted, I do it. And that's what I'm doing. I do feel strongly because of the history that Mount Rainier has had. And the whole time I was running, all I kept hearing was Sundown Town, Sundown Town. I'm tired of hearing Sundown Town when people discuss Mount Rainier. I'd rather hear how Mount Rainier has overcome that and is a better city. I mean, and yeah, Selena, I understand what you're saying about working together with the other cities, but we're talking about Mount Rainier in our history. And that is what I want to work towards improving our reputation as a city. We're very diverse. And I don't want to say that other groups are not as important. I'm advocating for one group. However, I will co-sign advocacy on any group, but nobody else is speaking up like this. So I was asked to do it and I'm doing it. So, and again, this committee, their sole purpose would be for designing education and outreach during African American Heritage Month. And just a little information, my grandparents ran from Ireland from what was going on to their people over there. We all have a horrible story somewhere in our past. We have to overcome it. My family has overcome it. I just want to help other people who want to overcome their bad history do that. And we do have a dark spot on Mount Rainier, and I'd like to see it cleaned up and look better to present for the entire state, whoever. So that's my bit. So thank you.
Okay. All right. And just as a point of clarification, the city is going to be working with Gateway CDC, and this does not alienate from people from the community to work with them. Actually, a lot of people from Gateway CDC. We have our own chapter here in Mount Rainier. Valerie is our liaison for the city, but they are going to be working in African American Month. That's something that we did ask for them to do. So just want to make sure it's clear that it's not a group being forgotten of or being put aside. That's definitely not what we're doing. All right, moving on to the next item, item number 9, presentation discussion on compost and the city usage of Prince George's County facility. Councilmember Stoffels will give a presentation on collecting residents' compost and using the Prince George's County facility for composting. As a quick point of information, I know we had, as a city, work on setting a pilot program, but that might no longer be the case. The county has a program that other cities have opted into. And Jared, thank you so much for bringing this up. I believe that I know for a fact, Valerie, me know this for a fact. Our schools, right, Rainier Elementary and Thomas Stone, they have signed up for composting. So the kids are learning how to compost. So if the city could line up with what the schools are doing and the rest in other parts in the county are doing, I think it would be ideal. So our little ones are already doing it, working really hard. And I actually did get to meet the person that is their contact for composting for the school. So I did told them that we were going to be revisiting. So they were very, very happy to hear that. So Jared, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I think we're all excited to do things and bring new initiatives to the table in the city. I think it's often a challenge to do so without either finding additional resources or sometimes in the case that you can opt into something with relatively minimal impacts and sometimes actually potentially reduce costs. I wanted to talk you guys through something that Rocio and I, Mr. Kamali, had talked through because the county has undertaken this new initiative and just see what the sense of council is in terms of this. So just for a background here, so I think folks know, if you don't actually, Mount Rainier currently, we provide our own trash. It's on a trash, yard waste, recycling, and bulk trash pickup. So we don't contract out. The county doesn't do it. We do it with our own public works staff and resources, and built into their availability of when we have drivers for trucks and laborers and able to take it to the county. So when those items are picked up, as you probably know, they're transported to waste, recycling, or other facilities in the county. Typically, it's a facility out by Upper Marlboro. And I just bring that up is because I want folks to realize every time we dump bulk trash, recycling, regular trash, or yard waste, our staff actually has to take it out to the county facility, which unfortunately is somewhere where land is cheap, but it does take time. So historically, there's no provision for compost, and this is things over time. There's been a lot of interest in this. DC has created programs. Some other cities have, opted into this. I also want to just frame for folks that, typically people throw food waste in the trash, and around 30% of trash waste is actually biodegradable food, right? So we're actually a lot of times paying for things that literally could be composted and used, but also basically paying for things that could be disposed of in a much better and cheaper way in our regular trash. So previous to Prince George's County's program, and I'll talk about this in a second, local jurisdictions that are larger than us, like Hyattsville and Laurel, have created compost programs, but they've done so at their own significant cost for transport and disposal. And that's kind of why, historically, we're interested in doing something around this. But the cost and impacts was potentially really prohibitive. So Prince George's County has begun its own countywide compost program, and what is done. So right now, if you live in unincorporated Prince George's, you actually now can opt into compost. You can compost if you're in Avondale, if you're in Chillum, if you're in East Riverdale. For example, some communities near us, you can opt into. You can compost already. So now Mount Rainier, super green city, is actually behind the ball here. But what Prince George's County has done is it allows municipalities to opt into its compost program with some stipulations and additional costs. This allows municipalities to participate and integrate efforts into their existing operations without burden. So if you want to go next. slide. So I was mentioning this new organic composting facility. So it's up in Upper Marlboro. There is a Maryland Environmental Service operates this facility on behalf of Prince George's County, one of the largest ones on the East Coast, and counties implementing phase 3, which, as I mentioned, composting is actually available to all unincorporated county areas in Prince George's County now. So here's the background. Prince George's allows municipalities to sign an MOU to opt into this program. So currently, if you have things that are compostable, it's either dumped in the trash, and on average, as I mentioned, about 30% of the stuff that goes into people's trash is actually compostable, or it's collecting backyard compost bins if available. I know a lot of folks, including myself, have compost bins. I have some specially designed ones to keep pest out, but for a lot of folks, it's intensive and challenging, and the pest dynamic is challenging. And a lot of folks have asked for other solutions that other than backyard composting. So under the MOU, compost collecting would be mixed with yard waste for disposal. So Mount Rainier would pay a higher yard waste compost fee for the mix. So right now, and I just want to frame why this matters, trash. So right now we pay $70 a ton. If you throw out trash, throw out recycling. Recycling cost us $27 a ton. Yard waste costs us $25 a ton. And then compost and yard waste combined under this new MOU is about $45 a ton. Thanks, Melissa. So and just to give a look at what do we generate, we generate a lot of trash. Actually, I was really surprised by this number. 229 tons of trash every quarter. It's a lot of trash. We also generate a lot of yard waste, 54 tons. And this is part of the reason in the community we've also encouraged folks to not throw out yard waste, to compost it, let it enrich the soil. A lot of folks in our community have decided not to dispose of their leaves, but instead let them be in their backyard. So diverting compost out of trash will lower our trash tipping fee, but raise our yard waste fee. Right. So I just did a kind of quick number on what this looks like. So if you look at what we pay right now, average trash tons per quarter, we do about 228. About 54 yard waste tons. So on quarter, we pay about $17,365 for combined trash and yard waste. If we opt into this new county program, basically it doesn't actually change the overall quarterly amount we pay as a city. It would, if no one opted into trash, if no one diverted any trash into compost, we end up paying slightly more, about $900 more a quarter. But if people started diverting their trash into the compost up to, let's say, 35%, which is the typical divertible amount of trash, we actually could see reductions of the overall fee we'd pay to the county. Just other costs and impacts. So, we'd have to do something like purchase compost bins. Given cost of bins and probably, I would say probably not 100% resident utilization. We need an additional round of bins, but, we could, for example, do a first bin free, subsequent replacement bins sold at cost to the resident. We potentially might need to extend yard waste pickup. So, we don't do Monday pickups for yard waste in January because there really is none. But if we started picking up compost every week, we could potentially accommodate that in there. If we don't, again, I mean, the cost or the increase or decrease is so small. I mean, it's potentially $900 more a quarter, or essentially $2,000 less. So there is, but there could be a very slight additional cost. And if for some reason we need an additional truck, it's highly, highly, highly unlikely. But if there's a diversion of compost in a way that we need additional vehicle where one is already programmed, that could be additional costs. So just a reminder, this is what our pickup schedule looks like. Right now our Tuesday, our public works staff is doing bulk trash first and third Mondays, Wednesday trash, Friday recycling. Our public works staff, I want to be clear, is out and doing stuff in the community Tuesday and Thursday often, whereas they're often doing pickups in the morning and then taking stuff to the facilities in the afternoon. All right, so yeah, that's basically it. So, you know, I just wanted to bring kind of this, what this could look like up to council and just get people's sense of what if we should ask staff to kind of looking into opting in here. Because now the county, if we had to do this on our own, it would be really, really, really expensive. And we'd have to have, you know, figure out a way to do it, and, you know, a place to take it and a contractor do it. And in this case, the county has basically made it super easy to opt into the countywide program they're already doing. So to me, it seems like a pretty straightforward thing to do. I know camp residents have been asking for this for a long time. And actually, we are, as an incorporated municipality, actually now behind the county. We're usually out in front of the county. So it's, I think, an easy thing. You know, so we just need to think about, and then, you know, if we were to opt in, engage in the MOU, do messaging marketing, and begin a new program. And Rocio has been really helpful. Mr. Kamali, on talking through this. Rocio, Mr. Kamali, I don't know if there's anything you guys want to add on this.
Oh, thank you, Jared. I think that's a great, presentation, and we can continue if the council wanted us to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kamali. Good thing is we have a city manager that knows what the old program is, and we have a great director as well that knows what the program is. And at least we have 2 out of the 3 council members that were there back centuries ago when we didn't have like trash cans and recycle with lids. So I'm gonna go to Valerie, then Luke, who knows nothing about trash and recycling conversations. Go ahead, Valerie. I know Luke is dying to speak after you. Go ahead. And you have 5 minutes. Remember that. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Jared, for bringing this up. I definitely think it's a good idea. I think we should probably definitely map out what the cost per bins are and staffing needs, because I think that's going to be critical in terms of potentially implementing this. So I think it's a good first step. I think there's a lot more to do, but thank you for bringing this up.
Thank you so much, Luke.
Yeah, no, Jared, thank you so much for bringing this up. I think the big thing here that makes this, at this point in time, such an advantage for the city is the fact that the compost can be picked up on Monday with the yard waste and sorted there. In the past, when we've looked at composting, the hardest thing for us has been, as a city, thinking of another day to do the composting, and it would need more staff. And what would you do with the new, what vehicle are you using to move it? And that was always cost prohibitive. So we always try to do these, all right, residents can get their own, or we could try to do a program with the green team, because it was always, that was kind of the issue, the extra day, what we're going to do it in, and the cost to city. So I think a good next step is definitely working with Mr. Kamali and Rocio on, like, okay, if it can all be included in yard waste, what does that look like? I'm what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not confident that we would see a ton of drop in our garbage tonnage, and just because we're increasing it in the yard waste, because I would feel like there would be a lot of people, maybe like me, whose compost would go maybe from the backyard into the yard waste bin. I don't know if I do that because I kind of like to compost at home, but I could see that happening. So I would just not be too confident in seeing any cost savings from that aspect, but definitely something I want to do, and definitely supportive. Just wanted to see how staff would respond to managing it with the yard waste. But thank you so much for bringing this up, Jared. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Luke. Luke is so like, one more bin. Yes, we're lit. I thought that's what you were going to say, Luke. Go ahead, Danielle.
Okay, thank you, Jared, for doing all this research and looking into this. I'm a huge advocate of all of this myself. I will reserve any real decision or comment on this until I see more of a cost analysis. I do get that, there may be a percentage here, a percentage there. Will the increase in compost decrease this? So while I'm in favor of programs like this, and definitely more bins with lids, because I remember what it was like before we had those, I would really like to see more of what it will cost the community and the city. But yeah, thank you so much for doing this.
So we're down to a 2-minute mark, and I definitely do want to increase any more time. I'll tell you what I'm hearing. I'm hearing Jared get with Rocio, Mr. Kamali, to figure out what those numbers look like in order to figure out what it will cost, so we could have another discussion on this and how to move forward. As for me, my only question will be, if this is not 100%, like we have 1,000 homes, right? And let's say 500 of them participate, right? Does this now mean that the other 500 homes will still have to pay the $45 fees for mix used, and what the cost will look like? Because if everybody's not in, that's where we're going to get hit severely with the cost. If all of us are in, then the $45 will more or less like even out one way or another. But if only a small percentage of us are in, what it will look like now to, nearly double the cost of like that tipping fee. So if you guys could figure out what that looks like, and I'm kind of with Luke, that was a lot of the harshest things that we've been wanting to do, but it was just so expensive. And once again, we need to live within our means, and we're big dreamers, but we always want to make sure that we don't get to a point where we need to raise taxes to try to make something happen. So if you could follow up with that, Jerry, and bring it back, if that's clear direction for you, or if you need something else, let us know, because I think I'm wrapping up in my last few seconds. Are we good, Jerry, with that? Or do you want us to extend 2 more minutes to answer?
2 minutes, yeah, just
Okay, motion on the floor for 2 minutes. You could second it, Jared.
seconded. So,
Okay.
yeah, no,
Discussion,
I
objection,
will,
hearing none. Go ahead, Jared. You have your 2 minutes.
sorry about that.
Go
Yeah, no, I will, we'll work together with staff on this. I just, 2 things really wanted to mention. Agree to the point that, if there is a increase in if we go to compost from just yard waste, then it does increase the fee. I do want to clarify again, though, when that compost comes out of the trash, it goes from 70 to 45, right? So when compostable material is in the trash, we're paying $75 a ton for it. When we divert it down, it's and if you go back and look, and Marcia and I and Mr. Kamali can build out that spreadsheet a little bit more, but even in a worst case scenario, looking at our last quarter, we'd pay $900, basically $900 more a quarter if no one took any food and put it in the compost. So, I think we think of being minimal. We definitely, it's worth having a sort of more built out budget proposal so we know exactly what we're opting into when we sign something up with the county. The other thing I wanted to mention, I know this is something we've all heard about, is it's also going to be helpful for us, for residents that are really good about maintaining their compost bins in their backyard in a way that does not attract pests. That's going to be really helpful. I know folks have complained, rats, we have a increase in pests and stuff like that. To give folks an opportunity to compost so they don't feel obligated to throw it in their trash or compost in their backyard, and then have a setup where, often it may attract pests, which become a much bigger nuisance, a health and safety issue for the city. So I think hopefully this thing is a win all around, and I'll work together with staff on it. Thank you so much, Rocio and Mr. Kamali, for your help.
Thank you, Jared Kamali, and Mr. Kamali, and Rocio as well, Director Latorre. So yeah, and figure out what the cost bins are at as part of the analysis, because you have to figure out how big and small they want them. Okay, Jared, put that on the list as well, because recycling bins are very big, trash is small, so what the cost and the size for that would look like when it comes to price. All right, but thank you for the presentation in this initiative as we move forward. All right. Presentation of a long list of minutes. This is not a voting session, so I'm just going to read through them. Our Vice Mayor did read through them. We should do that so that way some of our residents that are just hearing us in audio could know what the agenda is as we, talk about it. So, City Clerk will present the following minutes to Mayor and Council: September 15, 2020 work session, November 29, 2020 work session, October 6, 2020 legislative meeting, October 2020 work session, November 10, 2020 legislative meeting, November 17, 2020 work session, November 24, 2020 work session, December 1st, 2020 legislation meeting, December 8, 2020 special work session, December 15, 2020 work session, October 17, 2023 work session, November 7, 2023 legislative meeting, November 21st, 2023 work session. Melissa, thank you so much, and your whole entire team for making sure that we're on it. And this will put us on track for many back minutes, correct, Melissa? Yes.
Yes, Mayor.
So thank you for that. So they'll be voted on the January 1. Just as a reminder, the minutes are a hypnosis. That's the reason why we do recording video. All right. So that's work that the city clerk and the city manager put together. And they basically listen to our wonderful audio. So not only does Melissa lives through this experience with us, she has to go back and listen to write notes. And when they do, they put synopsis of what the minutes are. Like if there's a voting, for example, they'll be like, this was the motion, this is who seconded, and this is the vote. Basically, that's what it is. And if people wanna go ahead and listen to the video and audio, they're welcome to do that. I know Jared has been very good. Jared with a D has been very good also at doing timestamps for the videos. That's something that was asked, and we also have. So the minutes we do them, but necessarily we don't need to be doing them, to be honest with you. We do it as a backup, but our team is wonderful at doing them. But reality, we have it all taken care of. But Melissa, thank you for putting us up to date. This is another great example how great work from the team and building infrastructure has gotten us to where we're at. You know, we already know about the audits, we already know about the budgets. We something as the minutes might not be a big thing for people, but definitely is for us because record keeping is always wonderful. So they're doing a good job. So Melissa, thank you. You are Director of Administrative Services. I want to make sure to acknowledge you for the work that you and your team do to taking care of this. And you'll be seeing a lot less minutes after the vote on January 2nd, mainly because we're completely caught up. All right. All right, so moving on to item number 11, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
It's been moved and second. Thank you, Jessica. Any discussion, objection, abstentions? Before we adjourn, I'm gonna call it out, but then I'll read them as a privilege, okay? The meeting has come to the end at 8:28, and I just have the upcoming events I forgot to read. Sorry, Melissa. Holiday basket distribution will take place on December 21st at the Police Community Department room if you want to volunteer, 7 a.m. Holiday movies from our Rainier Nature Center this Friday, this Friday at 6:30, and the movie is The Star. City Administrator Office is closed at 3 p.m. December 22nd, 2023. City Administrator Office is closed December 25th for Christmas. The City Administrator Office is closed 3 p.m. on December 29. And they will be closed also, they'll be closed for New Year's as well. All right, thank you guys for entertaining this point of privilege to read the events at least, and you'll see us running around in the community as we do so beautifully. The team is going to be here between 5 and 3 o'clock in the morning on Thursday. Anybody wants to volunteer, 7 a.m. And thank you to Mount Rainier Elementary, Thomas Elementary, Cesar Chavez Elementary, and their PTOs, as well as Rainier Manor 1 and 2. Ms. Damore being among them, who have helped make the basket distribution possible. The Youth Explorers from the Mount Rainier PD, the Girl Scouts also came out to help on Monday. Thank you so much. And Bruce and Shoes have helped in the past before. So thank you guys for that. All right. Have a great night. And this meeting has officially been adjourned. Good night, everyone. And happy holidays. We'll see you in the new year. And thank you, staff, for being so wonderful and keeping us on track. Okay.